Welcome to the Star Wars Newsnet live feed. I am one of your hosts, Paul Herman, and I am joined today with my bearded wondered friend, Brian.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hi,
What's up?
y'all. What's up? Not
Been a
much,
minute.
man. Just what's that?
Been a minute.
It's been a minute. Yeah, things were kind of busy there for a second, and things are finally kind of settling down a little bit. So it's for those who don't know, I just moved, and life has been kind of hectic and crazy. So and I think a couple weeks ago I had Tyler. I think it was on. It was a lot of fun. We did a Vision season 2 review, which was awesome. That was a lot of fun, and but yeah, like life got kind of crazy there, but things are sort of settling down. I'll be back to do every other week with you here, maybe some other people as well. But yeah, man, like I guess we've got some interesting things to talk about. But our main topic will be about Ahsoka today. But anything Star Wars related that's going on with you or Mr. Bearded Wonder himself?
Not a whole lot. I got a lot of reading done in the last week and a half.
Oh
Been
yeah,
working on
all
a lot
right,
of novels
okay,
and finally getting caught up on some stuff. So
that's cool.
heck
That's
yeah.
cool. All right, anyone in the chat here? We got Andrew. Andrew's been really super supportive lately. Hey, Andrew, you're the man, dude. Really appreciate it. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Represent. So if you're in the chat here, we're going to be interacting with you all about Ahsoka Tano, and let's kind of if you're watching live, go hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, all that jazz. But I want to get your all like insight on this, and if you're watching after this live stream, I encourage you to always try to join with us. But if you're not live, then go ahead and leave a comment, and we're going to be asking you guys all questions to. I want your responses because I think that today we were talking about ideas for shows, and I want to talk about the film slate, and one of our contributors that we work with, our fellow workmates, you could say, they asked, why don't we talk about Ahsoka and the new show coming out and everything, and I was just kind of like, I don't know, I'm like, for me, and I'm not sure people in the chat, let me know what you guys think. I know some people are all about spoilers and speculation. I love speculating, but I don't like to watch trailers anymore. Is anyone in the chat, hit me up? Are you guys more anti-trailer? Have you gotten older? If you're all about trailers, I'm not into them. Like any of them. Like I love the new Dune. I love Dune franchise, and I'm not seeing a single Dune trailer. I'm good. I don't need to watch it. So that's just me. But hit me in the chat here. Tell me what you guys think about spoilers. Sorry, trailers. But anyway, I say all that because Miguel had said, let's talk about the evolution of Ahsoka as a character. And I thought that was really interesting. And I'm like, that's actually a really good call. So Miguel, if you're watching or whatever, I really appreciate it. It was actually a really good idea. So, Bearded Wonder himself, I'm going to throw it to you because
Okay.
I'm curious. What was your first interaction with Ahsoka, and what was your initial interaction? Like, what was it? What was it? What did you think of the character? And just kind of we'll just start there, like what interaction and what your first insight of the character was.
First interaction was the Clone Wars film in 2008. I remember going to see that movie, and that was the first Star Wars movie I wanted to walk out of. I remember that, and I couldn't stand her as a character at first. At first, I couldn't stand her, dude. She was annoying. She was abrasive. She didn't listen. She's that little kid that you always see in movies that they just won't listen and they keep getting into danger. And it's like, just, you know what? Let the danger happen. Let them learn a lesson the hard way. That's where I was at with this kid. Like, and I was just,
Okay.
the Snips and Sky Guy thing just drove me crazy. At the
Yeah.
time I was like, Anakin can't have an apprentice. What the heck? Yeah, this
Yeah.
isn't good. And so, I that was kind of my initial thoughts with Ahsoka, and I just couldn't care less about her, to be honest. And like back then, I was this kid, and I was like, well, where is she in the movies then? Where is she in episode 3? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
why is there
Yeah.
no mention of her and everything like that? So, um,
All
yeah, no,
valid things, by the way. Those are not
yeah,
invalid at all, in my opinion. So
because
I
remember
get
that
it.
was
I get it.
before we had. I mean, we still had the Legend stuff and the EU stuff, but we didn't have anything
Yeah.
else, TV or movie wise. So
Right. 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 Okay. Okay.
But yeah, that's
So
kind of my initial thought.
like okay, so and I'm not too far off from you. I'm bummed because I was very anti Clone Wars when it first came out. Not because I hated Star Wars and I just was sick of the prequel trilogy. I wanted to do something else, you know, and I
Yeah,
knew like George, if it was just really irritating for me because at the time I thought, George, why are we wasting our time on this era when because it felt like he was just trying to justify the three films more and more and more. Like I don't know, it's really a good era. And here's the thing, he was right in my opinion, and I was not like ready for it at that time. And when the Clone Wars movie came out, and all the trailers came out and I heard about Ahsoka, I'm like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, how do you explain where she goes? Because it's funny enough, I almost didn't think it was gonna be canon. It'd be one of those things where I just
yeah,
thought maybe it was just gonna be its own thing.
yeah.
Um, I just didn't take it seriously. And I remember it came out the summer, and if you all remember the summer the Clone Wars movie came out,
Oh,
it came out after uh Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, Hellboy, Dark Knight, and then I think something else. I think even after that came out, but then Star Wars, Clone Wars came out, and I didn't see it in the theater. I just was like, I was all about comic book movies or superhero movies, and because Dark Knight was like blew my mind. It was one of my favorite movies ever at the time, and I never saw it. And I love telling the story because my parents bought it for me on DVD for Christmas one year, and I was like, and I remember the year they bought it, I had a bad tooth problem, and I just was like in pain, crying basically. And it was like, oh, I put the movie on in my laptop and I watched it and I got done. I went, I kind of like that. And here's the thing. I say all that to say about Ahsoka. I didn't like her abrasiveness. I didn't like the fact she kind of came and was like, "Hey, Sky Guy," like all that jazz. Like, yeah, that's obnoxious, right? Like,
mm,
don't get me wrong. That is not prime like character, whatever. That being said, I didn't mind her at the end of the show, and then funny enough, the next year my parents got me the whole season for DVD. So I actually got to watch and learn her as a character, and I actually liked the character by the end of the series. I'm like, this character's fine, and I just kind of felt like, they'll explain Ahsoka. She either has to die or something, something has to happen, right? Something has to give. So I didn't love her at first, but but I didn't like hate her either. Like I just was like, okay, she's annoying at first, but then as season one going on, I liked her. So that was my first interaction with her. So I guess going on, I'm assuming again, I don't. Maybe you hate the character, I don't know, but I'm assuming you like the character more as the Clone Wars went. Or am I wrong? Or am I right?
So with Ahsoka, she was a character that as she grew, right, as a character, we grew with
Right.
her. And so we got to
Well, you
watch
grew up. I was already old.
well, that's but I mean, like, we got to watch her from her conception, not conception, like, in the biblical sense, but, like, from the conception of the character to,
Mhm.
learning these lessons from Anakin and from the other Jedi and through war and learning,
Yeah.
all these things and becoming more and more like Anakin, from learning
Yeah.
from him and becoming this awesome character. By the time if you watch Clone Wars chronologically, by the time you get to the Siege of Mandalore, she is just like Betty Badass, and she's holding her own and one of the only Jedi, to survive. Well, I shouldn't say that because now there's apparently crap loads of Jedi that survived Order 66.
There's a lot of Jedi out there.
But the fact that she was able to hold them off on her own due to Anakin's training, specifically Anakin's
Right.
training, what we saw in Tales of the Jedi, and uh, and so as she grew as a character, it got to I loved her so much even before the last season of Clone Wars came out that when she cropped up in Rebels as Fulcrum, spoiler alert if you guys haven't
Mhm.
watched Rebels, that was wicked excited to see her pop up, and it made
Mhm.
sense that she would be there with her being a former Jedi and kind of having a hand in the rebellion being formed and stuff like that. It made sense, and so seeing her interactions with Kanan and Ezra and with the whole Rebels crew, and then obviously the whole Ahsoka Vader thing at the end of season 2 of Rebels, which was just mind-blowingly awesome, and deep.
Mhm.
It was so deep. It was just it was on par for me Like for me, my favorite lightsaber battle is Luke and Vader Return of the Jedi. That's my favorite one because there's so much emotion behind it, and it's, the
Sure.
stakes are so high and everything like that. And the
Mhm.
battle between Ahsoka and Vader in season 2 of Rebels felt a lot like that to me.
Mm.
Because they kind of
Right.
had the same, they're not, father daughter, like Luke was father and son, but she was still, that he was that mentor figure to her. And to see the emotion with that battle was really cool. And then now to see her come up in Mandalorian, in live action, which I wasn't a big fan of her first portrayal in live action in Mando. I wasn't
You're
a big,
crazy.
because all I saw was Rosario Dawson. But now, that she's played the role a couple of times in live action, and in Book of Boba Fett, all I saw was Ahsoka. So she's grown on me
Mm.
again as another character
Interesting.
again. You know what I mean? So to me now, that Rosario Dawson is Ahsoka, in my opinion, now after seeing Book of Boba Fett. So I'm looking forward to this series, and she's one of the fan favorite characters. I mean, she's one of my favorite characters. We had a cat named Ahsoka for a while, before she decided to
Mm.
run away. And but yeah, no, she's just one of those characters. To sum it up in a nutshell, we kind of grew with her, and looking back, she's still abrasive. I still can't stand her at the beginning of Clone Wars. But now where she got to, absolutely love it.
Well, I think for me, I've always liked the character, and I think it wasn't until I think I didn't start really liking the character. Well, I didn't really start liking the character a lot was until season 3 of the Clone Wars, when I think, like you talked about how you grew up with the character, and she started to grow with the audience that it was with, and that's the thing about Ahsoka is during the Clone Wars she does go through great character development that is kind of not expected. And I think it starts with the Mortis trilogy, which is one of my favorite
Yes.
things from the Clone Wars. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, and that's fine.
Mortis
But
was
to
sick.
me, you got to was that
Mm. Mortis
was
was
that
sick.
Brian?
It was sick. I loved Mortis. The
You
Mortis
keep cutting
episodes were.
out. I'm not sure.
Am I?
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're cutting out a little bit, I think. I'm not sure. People in the chat can let me know. Is it just my end? I don't know. Either way, no, you're right. Like Mortis trilogy is amazing. It's a little confusing. It's a little convoluted a little bit maybe, but in the end, I love what it does for Star Wars. But I think for Ahsoka, she kind of grows up, not like in that whole episode, but you get an idea with that flashback, right? When the adult Ahsoka is talking to her, and she says to her, "Young one, if you stay with him, he will kill you, or you will die," basically. And I thought that was very interesting because you see her as an adult, and she has a super long I forgot the week
The
what the
Leku.
heck what it's called. Leku, yeah, Leku. And I thought that was really a brilliant touch because you got to see her like as an adult. We always see her as a kid, and then you get to see her projected as this adult character, and like she is like there's just a substance to that whole part. And as she kind of realizes, wait a minute, maybe I'm not in a great situation. And what's even crazier is that is also the force somewhere. I mean, you could debate about Mortis all day long, but it does, it represents the force maybe telling Ahsoka something. Like if you got to be careful, or is that Ahsoka subconscious? There's so many different things you could do with that whole trilogy. To me, that's where I think for me, I started really getting behind the character because you see her, like the part where she's possessed by like the dark side, and she says, he calls her Snips, and she goes, "I've always hated when you call me that." Like she like it was just cool to acknowledge, like, yes, this annoying thing that she like we all think is annoying. She thinks annoying is annoying too, and just acknowledging that was like almost a step ahead, or kind of taking a step forward with the character. Like, oh yeah, okay. And then all these great, not to mention all the other great episodes we've gotten, the fun episodes between 1 and 2. But I think season 3 is when the evolution of the character really starts to take place. So, at least for me, and people in the chat, let me know, when did you see Ahsoka, and when did you like her initially? Did you hate her initially? Were you indifferent? And if you did end up liking her, when did that happen? Because that's what I'm curious of, because it seemed like for me, and I've been involved in fandom online, probably since the dawn of all the social media outlets in like 2008 9, right? And it seemed like Ahsoka was just kind of But when they sold Lucasfilm, and by the time we got season 5 of the Clone Wars, it seemed like people had it wasn't a full blown like carryover, like, oh, everyone loves a character now. It definitely felt like at that point the shift started to really happen. Like, maybe like the season 4, the shift
Right.
started happening and more people liked it. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
at least for me, maybe that's my perspective. I'm not sure what if you think, but Brian, but people in
No,
the
I agree
chat,
with you.
okay, you think the
Yeah.
shift started happening on season 3, season 4?
Somewhere like in the middle of season 3, they did that animation change too, where everybody got new model figures and everything like that. And
Was
it,
it was it
yeah, it
middle?
was
Was it mid season?
middle of season 3. And then,
Okay.
but yeah, it was almost like the jump in the character kind of happened at that same time. And they almost reinvented her um, in the middle of that season and for the better. You know what I mean? It was a good reinvention if that's what you can call it, if that's what you want to call it. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it was in
So
the middle of season 3, season 4.
was Mortis was Mortis season was Mortis middle of the season?
Yeah, I think it was after the animation change.
Because the first, if I remember correctly, the beginning, the opening of season 3 was the attack on Camino, and which was incredible.
Sounds right.
And I think she was on that one. I'm pretty sure she was.
Yeah, I remember. I know it's in the middle of season 3 somewhere because I remember watching it and I was just like, "Whoa, what?" Because she ran up like the first episode where they changed their models. She like runs up next to Padme in the Senate in the hallway, and she's got her new outfit and she's taller, and you're like, "What?"
That,
Like
oh my god. Okay.
got the
Okay,
2
let's address.
lightsabers at that point, and it was like, "Whoa!" Like what happened? Like since the last episode?
Let's address the elephant in the room, okay? This was not a good choice for a costume initially. Let's be real. I mean, that
For a
and it
14-year-old girl,
yeah,
that was so
oh,
bad.
it's weird. It's weird, man. I ain't gonna lie. It's a little strange. Let's
Oh
be real. It's
god.
a little strange. My wife,
Oh
I think we
god.
were watching it back in the day. I was watching it back in the day. She's like, "What the hell is she wearing?" And I'm like, "That's fair. That's fair." I mean, I don't know. Like
Oh.
but here's the thing though, man. Like the costume, I don't think I actually got a picture of the newer costume mid season. But either way, the one they have that you're talking about
Mhm.
is like so much better. It's
Yeah.
crazy, and I'm glad they finally did do it because um it definitely was not a great choice, and I wonder if that kinda adds to, like, the weirdness of the character because it's just like, why is this, like, this 14-year-old girl with, like,
Wearing a freaking tube top,
tube
just running around on a
tube top,
battlefield.
right? On a battlefield, it's
Oh
like,
god.
what? You know?
Yeah.
But that
Oh,
being said, that should show you that how much the character people she endeared with people
yeah.
is the fact that through the really bad costume, like, she still was a strong enough character to be able to carry over to when they get to that mid-season point, which I don't know if it was mid-season or what, but I do remember when she had the new costume, I was like, "Oh my god, that's a way better
Huge
costume."
step forward, yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge step forward, and the 2 blades, and I both liked and disliked when she just showed up with 2 blades,
Yeah, out of
like, out
nowhere.
of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't like that, but I kinda
Oh,
liked it. You know what I mean? Am I
no.
crazy on this?
No,
People in
it
the
was
chat, am
like
I crazy?
it was one of those things like, what happened since the last episode? Like for real. That's just but yeah, no, like I said, I think it was an evolution of that character, you know.
Yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's like she has a midriff, or she has like her midriff exposed, but Anakin and Obi-Wan have armor on. Like, oh, young one, you better get in the front lines. It's like, what are you doing? I mean, come on. So
Race you to
yeah,
the
I
top.
yeah. So okay, so let's think about this. For people in the chat, or leave a comment too. Doesn't matter. And I should have thought of this better, but I'm gonna put you on the spot, and I'll try to come up with something this here. But people in the chat contribute. I want to know what you guys all think. What were the episodes for you, and if it was the Clone Wars, that made you fall for the character more? Because for me, it was
Mort
Mortis.
Mortis was good.
Mortis is definitely up there.
Um, when she was stranded with the younglings,
Oh yeah, the
and
Younglings
she
episode
really kind of brought some of her own wisdom forth for the younglings, and
with who
and
went.
everything
Yeah,
like
that was
that.
great.
That's when
Mhm,
that's when they started to peel the layers back on Ahsoka a little bit, I think. On,
mhm.
when they really started to show what she was actually learning from Anakin, because you never really hear everything she learned. I mean, you hear Anakin teach her these lessons, but then when you hear her passing them down to, the next generation, and it's like, oh,
Yeah,
she is taking it to heart.
yeah,
She is, learning this stuff. And so there was a lot of wisdom in some of the stuff that she told these younglings.
yeah.
And if I remember right, there was I think there was two separate episodes where that happened, if I'm not mistaken, when she took them to Ilum for the
Ilum.
crystals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Then they
when they were
messed
on
around
the
with
planet where the Trandoshans were hunting them
yeah.
down.
Wait,
Was
okay,
she
that
there
was
for that? Or that was
okay, I'm glad you brought that up because that's season 3.
was it?
And that was the last arc of the series.
Okay.
And I think season 3 is what made me fall in love with the character more because you had Mortis, right?
Mhm.
And then you had I almost forgot because I'm remembering her getting electrocuted, and
Yeah.
I'm like by an enemy, and I'm like, who was that? And that's right, it was a Trandoshan. So what
Yeah.
happened was the season 3, you had Attack on Point Rain, which I think she was involved
Mhm.
in, which was cool. There's another thing in season 3 that I'm totally forgetting off the top of my head. But you had the Mortis arc, then you had the Citadel, which she was a
Mhm.
part of for sure,
Oh,
which was
yeah,
really cool.
yeah, yeah.
That was tight. And then you had the Trandoshan trilogy or arc,
Mhm.
which was fantastic because you got to see her without a lightsaber interact and work with those Jedi, and she kind of
Yeah.
came into her own. Because season 3, I really feel it came into her own. She had some great episodes in season 2, like with Barris, but it was season 3. I think I really fell in love with the character and because Mortis, but then like Citadel and the Ahsoka and the
Yeah.
Trandoshan arc was great. So definitely those. But really quick, what cemented it was in season 4 because you also had um, you know, she wasn't really in the Darth Maul stuff as much,
Right.
but
That
you
was
did
kind
have
of its own thing happening to the side for a little while,
right, right.
and then finally came over to crossover with Clone
Yeah, but the episode where she's like with the Mandalorians where
Oh,
faces off with what's her name? Oh my gosh, Bo-Katan.
Bo-Katan, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, like that was a great episode. I think that's season 4, right? So
I think it was, yeah.
what I didn't like, she was cool. She was fine in the calamari arc, but that wasn't my favorite one. I
Yeah.
wasn't into that one as much, like overall, not because of her, because overall I wasn't really into it. So
I
anyway,
like
I digress. So
a comment from Andrew right here. One of
Mhm.
my favorite arcs is when she was framed and ultimately decides to leave the order. I
Well, yeah, I feel like at that point, Andrew. I mean, again, I agree. I think that cements it more, but I feel like people were already on board with her at that point.
Mhm.
Maybe it's just me. Am I wrong on this?
Well,
Am
no,
I?
I think you're right about that because that's why it was such a gut punch when she left.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
And there was so much weight behind her leaving, and we all thought she was going to stay with Anakin when he held that bead for that braid out to her, and she just kind of closed his hand around it, turned around, walked off, and then we were all like, oh, we were holding our breaths, and then it just, oh,
Mr. Wilson here brings up a great point. There's that episode where Ahsoka's seeing the visions with Aura Singh, and
hmm
that's a great
that's
episode
a good
too.
one too. Yeah,
See, and that's the thing about I think the Clone Wars is that because it wasn't just about Ahsoka, you could go and do different things and then come
Mhm.
back to Ahsoka, develop her, and then you're not as like you're stuck with her. Does that make sense? Like
Mhm.
you kind of like
Yeah, no, you're right. And
they yeah, good.
there was another one too, and man, you guys are gonna yell at me because I can't think of his name right now. The Jedi Master, old guy, really
Oh,
strong. I can't think. He was in.
Terrence Newby.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
Terrence Newby. Terrence
Yes,
Newby. That's a
thank you.
great
Nume.
lightsaber lost.
And
Another great one. Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
and it really shows how much like Anakin she was. Because if you look
yeah,
at episode 2, he kept losing his lightsaber, kept losing to the point where he gets it cut in half. He's like, "Oh, Obi-Wan's gonna kill me," like, and
yeah, yeah.
then you see Ahsoka lose hers, and she was so scared to tell her master about it, not knowing that Anakin had already, gone through that same kind of crap,
Yeah.
repeatedly with his master, and then so I think that was a really big learning point for her too.
See that? Yeah, and see, I'm glad there's these really good episodes like the Aura Singh episode, the Terrace and
Mhm.
Nube and Lightsaber Lost episode. It really developed the character, and it makes you jump. It makes you appreciate the character more and more. So when that gut punch does happen in the
Yeah.
season 5, and then she's gone, it really does affect you,
Yeah.
right? And then
Her absence
so
is felt moving forward.
her death, yeah, especially in the lost missions, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she's not even she's not even there, so I
For
mean,
the
it's
first like 3 episodes, and then after that, it was all Yoda centric stuff,
God, I
and
love that.
so she wouldn't have been there anyway, which was really
Yeah.
cool.
I love that's like, oh man, I could go for hours on the Mortison Yoda arc. Oh my god, like that's one of my favorite Star Wars of all time.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Um, so we're gonna do chronological here. So anyone who want to talk about or bring up some favorite Ahsoka episodes, but I think we've kind of deconstructed a little bit of what made people kind of fall in love with the characters. Those episodes, and they were great episodes. They were great written episodes. The animation got better. It because I remember as a fan and as watching these Clone Wars episodes, I definitely did see the shift of like people not hating Ahsoka. She hadn't won people over, it felt like, completely
Yeah.
by the by season 5, but like after season 5, I think people had started to jump on. And when she was gone, and I'm wondering if her absence was felt, if that made it her almost more of a fan favorite because of that, because she was gone. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
After
because
you don't realize what you have
absence makes the
until it's
heart go
gone.
for,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Don't know what you got till it's gone. Yeah, I mean, like, absence makes the heart grow fonder. I mean, that's kind
Right.
of what, that's what I think maybe what happened. So,
Which
because
is
it
why I
definitely,
think everybody got so excited when she popped up in Rebels.
yeah, we'll talk about Rebels here, and that was something that was like the worst kept secret. It felt like at the time. I mean, it was, um, yeah, it was both. It was good. I mean, it was a great surprise to see her at the very end, and I was excited. I kind of assumed she was going to show up, but when she did, I was very happy that she did. The one thing I'm going to say about Rebels, and I love Rebels, I think it's great. This is not a diss on completely on the show, but I gotta be honest. I think season 2 might be one like the weakest season.
I agree. The finale was sick,
Oh yeah, the
but
opening and the
yeah,
beginning are
I think
amazing. Yeah.
because season 2, that was when was that when we got the whole mall thing?
No,
No, no, that was season
season
3.
3. I love
So,
season 3 and 4. I think
but
are great.
season 2 was that's the one that opened with
Inquisitors.
Ahsoka and
That's when you
feeling
had
Anakin for the first time, feeling Vader, and was like
yeah.
she thought that she felt Anakin in there, and so that was kind of that was how they kicked season 2 off basically, and then that's just basically what we were waiting for was the Ahsoka Vader fight because we all
I
knew
mean,
it was coming. We
the,
knew it was
yeah.
coming.
There are some good episodes and like, but it's just, and I don't think things are filler all the way. Like there's maybe like an episode here or there, maybe that are kind of eh. But as far as like throwaway episodes, but it just doesn't connect as well, and the Inquisitors just seem incompetent,
Oh yeah,
and like it just kind of
helicopter blade lightsabers.
that was
Jesus
that's in the
Christ,
last part.
that was the dumbest thing I've ever seen with a
But the
lightsaber.
mall, but the mall, but that was the worst thing part of the whole episodes. But the ending with Ahsoka was amazing, and
Yeah.
again her evolution as a character. Obviously, her episode where she's like defending those younglings who are force
Mhm.
sensitive in this episode. That's a good episode. Yeah, it's just there's also that when they go to the Jedi Temple on Lothal, that's
Oh,
also a
oh
great
yeah, good
episode.
one. Yeah.
That's a good one. So it's got some good stuff on it. It's just not as a whole the
Right.
strongest of the series of
Right.
this, in my opinion, for the season, which is funny because that's like
That's where you
she
get the most of the Ahsoka stuff in that
right.
season.
That's all her. That's
Yeah.
all until like we get season 4, which is, oh my god, I love that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a little bit of a bummer because you got the amazing ending, but it just seemed she wasn't wasted, but it just seemed like they didn't really do much with her. They could have done a lot more, but obviously Dave Filoni was just trying to like hold back a little bit. So I think maybe for a reason, I don't know, but obviously, fast forward and we get the season 4, we have, what's the fate of Ahsoka, obviously. Did people actually think she was dead in that in season 2, end of season 2?
No. I think
Anybody?
I
Chat?
remember when that was running rampant. I remember when the theories were going crazy, Like, why did Vader leave her alive? Like, why was she walking into the temple? Was that her Force ghost? I remember that one. Was that her Force ghost walking down into the temple? Like, why did they part? And I remember that was such a huge thing for everybody.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but then I remember, was it a Celebration when Dave Filoni was wearing the shirt that said Ahsoka lives with a question mark, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
they showed the trailer for something. I don't remember what it was, and then
It
they
was no, it
came
was
back
season
and they
4.
changed the
It was
shirt.
season 4, and it was
Is that what
Ahsoka
it was?
lives. Yeah, it was an exclamation
Yeah,
point.
okay. And then he had the shirt with the exclamation point, and I was like, yeah, we knew he ain't gonna kill his baby off.
Not
Ahsoka's his
yet.
baby, dude. Not yet. No,
Not
not yet.
yet.
I'm sure
Well,
it's
and
coming, but
well,
not anytime soon. But
well, I've gone on record saying, it would not shock me if we got like it would almost be smart if they used that new Jedi Order movie to have Ahsoka, Rey, Baby Yoda, all of them, and they're the ones, reconstructing the Jedi Order together, all of them. That I really thought that'd be an interesting idea because it'd be taking these different eras of Star Wars and kind of molding them together and like
bringing
and
them,
them,
yeah,
it's just there's something poetic about that, I think,
yeah,
so kind of ushering the new Jedi Order, but all these different things that aren't George, basically, right? Yeah, I mean, Ahsoka's George, but I mean, it's more Dave at this point. And
right.
then you've got Dave and John Favreau, and you have obviously the Daisy Ridley and Ray and JJ and Ryan Johnson, all that stuff. So it'd just be interesting. But I would not shock me if Ahsoka ended up being in that new Jedi Order as like a Jedi Master, kind of like a elder, kind of a thing. Would
Right.
not shock me, and I think it'd be kind of cool, to be honest. If she survived that long. Um, but again, I wouldn't be mad if she died in battle against like somebody either, right? So
Death is a natural part of life. Everybody's got to die at some point, man. Like,
no.
so it's coming. I don't think it's anytime soon. They're gonna ride that Ahsoka train as long as they can.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well, and so when we got when we got Ahsoka and Rebels, and we got the World Between Worlds, I loved it. I thought it was
I
great.
loved that episode. I know a lot of people, and I get why people didn't
I
like
agree.
it as much. I get it, but
Yeah.
for one, I was on the side of that I was like, that is fucking cool. Like, that was so cool. Um,
I
and
think
but then I remember watching that episode and walking out into my living room and looking at my wife and was like, well, they just put time travel in Star Wars. And then I started thinking about it and I was like, it's not really time travel, but it kind of is. It's just, I don't
it is
know.
and it isn't.
It is and it isn't. Right.
Yeah,
So
it's a way of doing time travel, but you have to be like,
very,
um,
yeah, careful
yeah,
with it.
yeah, you're not just careful. You have to be one a Jedi because you have to move.
Right.
You have to be able to move the stones, and it's just different. Like the way I thought they handled that pretty well because
Yeah.
it seems like it's very much not. It's not something you can just always go travel into.
Mhm.
You know what
Can
I
you
mean?
imagine if Palpatine had got his hands on that?
Oh my god.
Can you
I mean,
imagine? Like, I mean, and what is crazy is after that, he knew it existed. And you know how obsessive Palpatine can be about stuff, right? And
yeah,
so he was trying to figure out another way back into that. And because that would be so stupid overpowering, like to rule an empire and be able to just travel through all time and space.
yeah,
Like
right. Well, I mean, the cool thing about it is that Ahsoka is kind of like, and that's what I'm saying. It would be interesting to see, like, let me throw it out here, okay? This hear me out. We know like Yoda is like a G, right? Like Yoda's like just all powerful, all knowing. It almost feels like we're seeing like maybe like what if she's the new Yoda? Like what I mean by that is like in another like 10, 15 years, and they keep going down the line in different generations because as we get older, we'll have seen like maybe at this point she's like 100 years old because we don't know how long Togrutas live for. I have no idea what life expectancy is, but
I can find out.
but my point is, what if she ends up being that Master Yoda like character where she's all knowing and they're like, Master Ahsoka, we found like this nexus from the Force and blah blah blah, whatever, and she's like, yeah, stay away from that shit, sorry,
Yeah.
but you get what I'm saying. Like it'd be interesting to see, we're seeing this evolution of a character that could end up being this, you know, like this really like elder statesman that's like
Yeah.
all power, really really powerful.
It's possible because this says depending on where you search, Ahsoka species the Togruta have an average lifespan of 82 to 94 years, and some sites claim powerful force using Togruta can live for up to 200 years.
So, that being said, I mean, we could really be seeing Ahsoka, the character, be that kind of Yoda, like elder, that really powerful and
Yeah.
sage,
Yeah.
if you will, because and if you think about it, we'll have seen her develop from a pup to all of a sudden like she's pretty powerful to all of a sudden like being rejected by everyone because she's felt everything and also gone through crazy force stuff like the world between worlds and whatever we're gonna get because to bring it we'll bring it back here in a second to we'll keep pushing it forward but just to kind of tease a little bit we all know it's coming we know it's coming back in here like all those little funny little symbols they're coming back for that Ahsoka show. So I mean, it's interesting. Just throw it out there. But World Between Worlds is cool, and I think to be honest, I gotta say, I think having Ahsoka be the person walking around in it makes it work a lot easier. To be honest, because we all like Ahsoka, and at this point, everyone loves Ahsoka, and everyone's clamoring for her and wants her back, and people are saying like, Rosie Dawson would be a great Ahsoka.
Think how many Jedi know about it at this point. Ezra and Ahsoka. That's it.
Ezra and Ahsoka. That's it. I mean,
does Luke even know about it at this point? She's talked to Luke.
Yeah.
Obviously in Book of Boba Fett, but did she tell him about the World Between Worlds? What all did she disclose to him?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I am Mr. Wilson. I'm with you, man. Like I was surprised. I remember season 4 is like the GOAT in my opinion. I think season 4 is and I think season 4 is probably some of the best Star Wars maybe ever written.
Oh, absolutely. Kanan going out like a badass and everything.
The wolves,
just
so amazing. And like, and then you get, but here's the thing. I would say my favorite seasons are 4, 1, 3, and 2. That's because I think season 1's really good. It's not like
solid, yeah.
It's not like this, it's not like season 4, and it doesn't have like the peaks that season 2 has.
Right. Well, they were still establishing the series and the characters, and
right.
And they were basically that came out before Force Awakens. So, that was our first foray back into the galaxy far, far away, and they did it right.
And it was good. It was really good. Like I rewatched it recently with my daughter. When she was even littler than she is now, and I remember being like, "This is so good." Like I love that. Grand Inquisitor is a great character. So I mean, anyway, back to Ahsoka. So we had obviously the end of season 4. We had Ahsoka the Gray show up, which we'll come back to in a second.
I like that.
I did too, but I mean that's been retconned. It seems like already. But going into this, we didn't know what they were going to do with the character. And we were kind of like off, okay, whatever, what's going to happen. And then it got spoiled, years later that Ahsoka was going to come back in The Mandalorian. Or wait, no, hold on. I almost got ahead of myself. She came back in 2020. Did we know she was coming back or she was coming to Mandalorian before the Clone Wars, the last Clone Wars episodes? I think we did. I think we knew.
No, because Mando season 1 didn't even come out until
it came out. The Clone Wars came out after Mandalorian.
Yeah, but we didn't know Ahsoka was coming in yet.
Well, either way,
it was close. I mean, they were close together.
Shortly
after that. We found out, yeah.
But. Okay, so we've got Ahsoka, and this was fantastic. She was incredible in these episodes, and I know a lot of people didn't like the episode arc before where she's hanging out with those girls. And listen, I don't think that those are great episodes, but there was some good stuff in those episodes though too. The problem was it was 3 episodes too long. It was
those episodes were strictly there just to establish where Ahsoka was, what she'd been up to, what she was doing since leaving the Order before they thrust her into the whole Siege of Mandalore thing.
Right, but I would say I think the first 2 episodes are fine. It's that third episode that it's redundant at that point. It's like you just got to escape. Sisters. Yeah, I like what are they called? I forgot their names. I liked them.
Because they came back in Bad Batch too.
Yeah, so I think that like those. It was the episodes were fine, but it was just too
Too long.
decompressed.
Yeah.
Like it was like it's like come on guys, you guys didn't need to do that much. But obviously, I think everyone agrees Siege of Mandalore is the goat of maybe of all of Clone Wars. It's it's not maybe my personal favorite still the Yoda stuff, but
Mhm.
this is like prime Star Wars, man. Like you can't tell me this stuff is not fantastic. And she really came into her own in this series. I felt like this to me, the Clone Wars, Siege of Mandalore really showed you the evolution of the character, even within Rebels, knowing like just kind
You
of not
what she
it
was gonna end up
justifies
doing.
it
Yeah.
justifies the character is what I'm trying to say. To me, it justified
Connects the
creating her in
two.
the first
Yeah.
place.
Yeah. It's the connecting tissue between Clone Wars Ahsoka with Rebels Ahsoka.
In episode 3. Like
Yeah.
we all talked about, we talked about right before the show, right? Or at the beginning of the show. Where's Ahsoka and all this, all this stuff. And those are valid points, right? Well, we got it, and he had a pretty good explanation, and it was pretty heavy, what was going on. So we got why Rex and everything was gone. And
Mhm.
it was a great addition to the Star Wars mythos and us understanding who this character is.
Have
Bye,
a good
Andrew. Always
lander.
appreciate stand up, man. I really do. And again, like it's her and Maul's fight is so good. I mean, it is so good,
Yeah.
so good.
Well,
Um,
and you know what's really cool? This fight with her and Maul and Siege of Mandalore. I mean, it looks so good. That was motion capture, and it was one of the first times they'd done motion, mocap for Clone Wars, and actually got Ray Parks in there to do Maul. And like, I
yeah,
mean, that was actually Darth Maul fighting in that. It wasn't just an
yeah,
animator putting Maul's fight together, and that was, I mean, that's why it looks so fluid. It looks so good, and there's so much behind that fight, and it felt like the stakes were high, and
yeah.
and it was, yeah, that was a great fight. It was so cool. And I loved her outfit. Like we were talking about her outfit earlier.
Yeah, this is a great
Clone Wars,
costume
the
for sure.
Mandalorian outfit, that's the hot toy that I bought. I have that sideshow of her in that outfit, and
I had the
absolutely
Black Series figure. Yeah,
love that one. That she looks so cool in that. Um,
it's good. It's a good outfit. It's a good one for sure. It's for sure. So we got this. This was amazing. And again, I talk about justifying the character. I don't mean it in a disparaging way, but it definitely feels like why coming full circle and really shows you why she's introduced in here in the first place. And I just love her place in in Star Wars. And I think
mhm.
seeing that was great. It's interesting that you didn't like her introduction into the Mandalorian, which I'm a little surprised at because
Mm.
I loved Rosario Dawson off the bat, man. I thought she was incredible right off the bat.
See, for me though, like I've watched too much stuff that had Rosario Dawson in it, and
Okay.
I'm sure a lot of other people have too. But for me, it's like she's a very unique looking individual. I
She's
mean, she's
beautiful, man.
instantly recognizable to me, and don't get me wrong, she's gorgeous. It's just she's instantly recognizable,
I know
and
what you mean, though. Yeah, she's very distinct looking.
she is very distinct looking, and that's not a bad thing. But when I first saw her as Ahsoka, all I saw was Dante's girlfriend from Clerks 2. That's all I could see.
Yeah,
And then when she cropped up in Book of Boba Fett, I don't know what it was. Like she had the mannerisms down a little better.
I can see
She
that.
Yeah, I feel like she had the attitude a little bit better. The body language, the movements, the characteristics of Ahsoka a lot more. Like when she's talking to Din and they see Grogu on the hill, and she's like, perhaps he's a Padawan now, and the way she moves her hand, and the way she's holding her arms and stuff, it's Ahsoka right out of Clone Wars and out of Rebels, and just her body language screams Ahsoka, and that's why she won me over as Ahsoka in those episodes. To the point now, when I see her, I don't see a Rosario anymore. I do see Ahsoka now.
Yeah, I thought that episode, the Jedi, was incredible. I've talked about on this show before that that's one of my favorite Mandalorian episodes. I think it's great. It's very atmospheric. I think it looks incredible. I think Dave Filoni directed his butt off, and I think Rosario Dawson did a great job. let's be real. I mean, there was a lot of expectations. There was a lot of backlash on her for many different reasons, which I don't want to get on
Which
here.
is weird considering the fans pushed so hard for her to be Ahsoka.
It's a whole thing,
It's
man.
weird. I know. I'm a Star Wars fan. I
I
know.
know. Listen. I've lived long enough now with Star Wars and the fans through the prequels and through the
Right.
or how about this through the special editions to the prequels through everything to a point where I just have to just roll with it,
Yeah.
and I have to find like you have to again. This show exists because I want to find a place where people can come together and disagree and still be Star Wars fans together and not have the nastiness, but have a discussion and
Mhm.
not be angry at each other. And I understand if people want to take a stand on why they were mad at Rosario Dawson, that is within their rights, and I have no problems with that.
Mm.
So I did not feel, knowing the knowledge of what that I knew, I was okay with. I was fine with her, and I think that going into the artistic side of it, I thought she did a great job. I thought
Mm.
she was a great Ahsoka, and I think I would say the Ahsoka we saw in that episode, though, in the Mandalorian, she's a little more aggressive because
Mhm.
of the situation at hand,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I would say that's why maybe why you probably would
She's
get.
in the throes of hunting down Thrawn. I mean,
Well, right, yeah, and here she's chilling out, what's up, Luke? I mean, so I mean, it's it's a little different. So for me, I don't really hold that. I can understand. I understand you're saying that her performance was different in that, and I think that was purposeful, maybe a little bit.
might have been, yeah.
But again, I thought she did great. I thought she looked phenomenal. I love seeing the white lightsabers. That her introduction with the white lightsabers was
With the
perfect. I mean,
freaking yeah,
God, it's so good. It's so good.
it is cool.
Oh man, I love it. She's and
Well, there were parts of that episode I loved. I mean,
right.
sure, her fighting style was great, but like I said, it was just I don't know. It was just
Yeah. I'm not
yeah, the
sure,
fighting was awesome though. The whole Japanese style battle with the
dude.
chick with the spear with the
The
Beskar
Beskar,
spear.
the
Dude,
Beskar
it's so
spear, dude.
cool. The
That was
sounds that it made when it was like cling.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
quick,
cool.
quick tangent here. Quick side tangent. How boned were you when they melted the spear? I was boned.
I was like that. Look, that whole thing didn't make any sense to me because, the armor is talking about how Beskar's, the fact that it exists is an abomination. There should be no Beskar weapons.
I know. I'm
She's
like,
rocking hammers made of Beskar, just
yeah, exactly.
breaking
Yeah,
stormtrooper skulls. The dark sabers made of Beskar. Whistling birds are made of Beskar.
yeah.
Like all these other weapons are made of Beskar, but no, you can't have that spear.
Oh, that
Yeah,
spear is an abomination.
yeah. It's just,
But
I
these
thought that was interesting.
little missiles are beautiful.
And I
You know?
don't see how that entire spear, like, they got where'd the rest of it go?
Yeah,
Because
right,
there was more. Because if he got a full set of armor out of a stack of ingots this big, and you had a
right.
spear that was 8 feet long and as big around as a freaking, big ass Sharpie, or as big around as a lightsaber hilt, basically,
Yeah,
then why did we only get one little chainmail T-shirt for Grogu?
yeah. And the thing I would say about this is, Ahsoka is going to be, I say we look at Mandalorian, we look at the Book of Boba Fett. We have now, I think, a good idea of what she's going to do, and I'm a Jedi lore guy, right? Like I love just the Force. I love Jedi. That's my jam. I love everything outside of that in Star Wars too, but that's my favorite, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want personally, I want the Ahsoka show. It feels, and also want the show to give me more of that, and I think it's going to of the lore of the Jedi, and I think I've only seen one trailer, right? I saw one trailer, and I'm sold, and I think we're gonna get what I want, which is all a little more taking in the world between worlds, the Force, those other side characters we don't know about really. I'm staying away from spoilers, y'all. I don't know anything. And to me, that's where I'm going to be the most excited to watch this episode. And my, and I probably should say this too. The we can't forget about Tales of the Jedi. I almost forgot about that. Those are incredible.
Yeah.
The Ahsoka baby episode, I've seen that 100 times
God
because my
is
daughter
Jedi.
loves it.
Yeah.
She loves it. She goes, "Baby Soka," that's what she calls her.
Mhm.
Baby Soka. We've watched that so many different times, and she likes all this. She likes the other episodes too, but not as much as that one. She loves that one. And I would say that I don't love all the Ahsoka stuff myself, but that first episode I think is brilliant. It's brilliant,
Mhm.
and I love it. And Ahsoka just keeps getting like more and more meaningful. I do like the episode where she's like, against Rex and stuff like that. Again, or that she's getting training. That was cool too. Um, but yeah, I think that between those Tales of the Jedi shorts, and then you got the Ahsoka series. I mean, Ahsoka is primed for superstardom, if not maybe already there. I don't know. She's definitely transcended fan favorite to I think she's a legitimate like one of the most popular characters
Yeah.
ever. Am I wrong? I don't know.
No, I agree with you. I love Tales of the Jedi so much. I know we're getting another season for it, but I want Tales of the Sith. Give us like 6 episodes of Tales of the Sith. Like I want to see Palpatine kill Plagueis. Like that would be an amazing story to tell in Tales of the
Why would
Sith.
you? But you can do that over like an actual like movie or even like an
You
animated
could, but they're not
movie.
going to. And so, I mean,
Never say never,
just
Holmes.
they
Never say
had,
never.
some Tales of the Jedi stuff crossover with episode 1. So, I mean, why couldn't you have cuz where did I read it at? Oh, sorry. Where did I read it at that Plagueis was still alive
Tarkin.
during do what?
Tarkin. There. Well, Tarkin. Take it back.
Yeah.
Plagueis, the novel.
Okay. I
They
haven't read Plagueis yet.
what?
But I've heard of it. It's on my list because I've been sticking with canon. But
Holmes.
I need to read Plagueis. I really
Listen, I'm not the biggest. I'm not a novel guy by any means. I listen to them. I'm a comic book guy. For those who don't know, I'm a
mm,
big comic book guy. Go subscribe to the Comic Binge. Shameless plug. Um, but that being said, there are a few Legends books I think, regardless, are worthy of going back and reading. And I need to go. I need to actually go into the Darth. Oh my God, the guy everyone loves,
Bane.
Darth Bane.
Dude,
I
that
need
is
to,
my favorite trilogy of books ever,
I need to get those.
bar none.
I have them, but I mean, I need to actually read them.
If they come out tomorrow and say those are canon, they're going to be on my shelf yesterday.
Well,
I mean,
right,
they
but
were awesome.
okay, so but I say all that because Plagueis is a fantastic read, and it definitely Tarkin kind of it nods at same writer, James Lucino.
Right.
It nods at things that happen in Plagueis. Like there's a droid that he has that is
So
also
basically, he was trying to recanonize his own book.
well, I think it was more of like kind of fun Easter egg stuff, but
Okay.
still, I
He
mean,
Easter egged his own book.
but that being said, the thing is, the the whole idea what Plagueis was doing was pretty much canonized, I
Okay.
would say. Like there's stuff that like they do in Plagueis that like why Anakin may exist
So was
is
he
kind of into
alive?
that.
So
Was
was he
that
alive during the prequel trilogy?
in the Legends novel, as far as I know,
Yeah.
he is alive well a little bit into a Phantom Menace.
Okay.
And then he gets killed by
So
Palpatine.
Palpatine broke the rule of 2. He
He
preaches it to Vader so hard in the comics, but he broke it. And like, well, of course, he was young then. He was an apprentice because he had Maul as an apprentice for a while.
Yeah, it's hard to explain. Like
Yeah. So I need to read.
it's not yeah, it's not clear. Let's be real. It's not clear.
Yeah.
I think if I'm not mistaken, I think Plagueis might be even it's been a while since I've read the novel. People in the chat, if you read Plagueis, tell me if I'm crazy, but I think that he wanted to get rid of the rule too, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say I think maybe he said maybe I could be wrong. I don't remember, but anyway, but go read Plagueis. It's worthy. It's worthy of reading. It's a goat. It's one of the best Star Wars novels ever.
Tell you what, I'll read Plagueis if you read the Bane trilogy.
I want to. I want to read it. I have the first book on Audible, so we're all set.
So good. So freaking good.
I think you're gonna get a Bane something canonized at some point. You're gonna get a Revan canonized. It's again, it's gonna happen. We just have to be patient. I think once I don't want to be that person, but I think once Kathleen Kennedy's gone, I think it will probably be more apt to happen. A little
more, yeah.
It just maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she'll leave and then it'll be the same. I don't know, but it seems like Yeah, it can't get much worse as far as not as her as what she's doing, but as far as what she's doing for these things, these fan favorite things like KOTOR and Darth Bane and those things. Is what I'm saying. So I don't think she really gets that necessarily. But that being said, we're wrap it up here. I figured we get a good hour out of this, and I was not wrong. So Brian, we made it. Made it. We're back. We made it. We made it. We made it all the way through. I'm excited. I mean, scale of 1 to 10. How excited are you for Ahsoka?
Freaking 66.
I'm an 11.
66.
There you
Oh,
go.
that's 66.
There you go. That works for me.
Bring it
People in
on,
the
man.
chat, let me know. Let me know what you guys all think. I'm excited too, man. I think it comes out on my wife's birthday, which is funny. But
Nice. 28th, right?
23rd.
23rd. Oh,
I'm so done. By the way, Wednesday releases, get them out of here. Get that crap out of here. I'm so done with Wednesday
it's the
releases.
23rd of Wednesday.
It is.
It is. Is it really?
I think it is.
It
Pretty
is.
sure.
Yep. You're right. It sure
Get
is.
that Wednesday
Got
release.
sandals.
Hate it. Hate it. Hate it. Hate. Hate Wednesday releases. Anyway, I'm excited. Brian, you're excited. Let's wrap this up. Tell people where they can find you and all your awesome content at, my friend.
You guys can find me at my non-active Twitter account at Brian Miller 1138. I need to start posting. I'm sorry, guys.
You do.
I really do. I don't think I've posted on it in months, but you guys can find me on my show too, the Star Wars Canon Podcast. I'm really wanting to get it back on. Had a lot of personal things going on recently, so I haven't really been able to get on the mic and get going. So it'd be fun to get the show going again, especially with Ahsoka coming and Andor season 2 coming out. But usually we talk some Star Wars canon stuff. We talk about some news, answer some mailbag questions, and have a good old time. And so you guys can find me there. And then you guys can find me here on the Star Wars Newsnet YouTube channel every week with the weekly roundup. And yeah, I think that's about it. Sorry, I'm all drugged up on painkillers right now. So
you're good, bro. Bro, you're fine. You're acting normal, but I'm not sure if it's a good or a bad thing. So no, yeah, it's good to have you back. So you can follow me on Twitter at Herman22 with 2 N's, aka right there, P Thug. You can go, please, I really appreciate it. Go over to my YouTube channel called The Comic Binge, and it's right here. We just talk about comics and try to get people to get stoked on comics and where people can read comics and find a community of not just people to like argue with each other, but just find like their love of comics basically. And this last month I went heavy on Flash, and that was people will say that was probably a mistake, but I had probably more fun than I had in a long time on the show because the Flash was that.
I want to go see Flash.
I loved it, man. I love the movie. I think it's great. I think people are just dogpiling on it for random reasons, but I digress. But no, the Comic Binge, we just did like 3 episodes of The Flash. We did like an instant reaction out of the theater. We did a full breakdown of the movie, like spoiler review. But my favorite was probably last week's when we did a 2-hour Flash comic book recommendation where we gave you all the Flash material to read. You could shake a stick at. That's not just like stupid. Man. Read this run, read that run. It's like, here, read these specific issues, read this, whatever. It was so much fun, man. Like I'm not a big, I love DC comics, but I'm not as knowledgeable in DC as much as I am Marvel. And I had all the people I had on were huge Flash fans, or 2 of them were huge Flash fans. One was a pretty good big Flash fan and who knows a lot about DC and just lots of great stuff. And so next week we're going to be introducing a new series that I will not necessarily be a part of all the time, but my cohort Chris is doing a recap of the whole Grant Morrison Batman run. So if you know that run at all,
oh nice,
it's he'll be doing a issue by issue breakdown. That's how extensive it's going to be. It's going to be crazy. So it's called Knights Will Never Die. Or Knights Never Die, excuse me. And so check that out. That's gonna be a lot of fun. That starts next week. I will be on the episode 0, and then we've got lots of great stuff next month. We have the Legion of Superheroes introduction episode. We're gonna be giving you comics to read for how to get into the Legion of Superheroes, and then the go back to Star Wars. I just confirmed 2 people at some point. I'm not sure what the date is yet. We're gonna do a review of Heir to the Empire comic book adaptation. So
sweet,
that before Ahsoka. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So look for a pretty big pretty big, interesting roundtable for that one. I'll just tease it with that. So, anyway, yeah, go subscribe to the Star Wars News YouTube page. Please like the video. Please leave a comment. Tell as you're watching this as you go, tell us how excited you are about Ahsoka. What is your entry point for Ahsoka? What made you turn to you're in? What made you turn the tide for Ahsoka? If you didn't like her at first, what have you? Go check it out. Go like all those videos. Super appreciate it. And yeah, we'll be back next week. I'll be back in 2 weeks. Brian, I think you'll be back next week. So
Week, yeah.
all right. Well then why don't you take us out, my friend?
As always, guys, may the force be with you.
Always.